Hey guys, it's Nikki with Homeschool Knockouts. Today, we are comparing 4 popular math programs in the homeschool market. They are Singapore Math, Beast Academy, Saxon Math, and Math Mammoth, all at the 3rd grade level. We want to compare apples to apples. Okay, guys, special note. I am comparing the table of contents of every math program I just listed, and I'm going to compare every page in the fractions chapter and the multiplication chapter. It's a long video. So if you want an in-depth, comprehensive review on each of these math programs, check out my curriculum playlist here. And all of those programs, I go into deep dives. You can get all the information to your heart's content there. Today, I'm just giving you a snapshot on each program, and then we're going straight into the comparison review. All right, you with me? Let's go. So here's our starting lineup for this video. Now, Singapore Math, or primary mathematics, I'm an old head, I still say Singapore Math, but primary mathematics is a mastery approach program with a little bit of spiral thrown in for good measure. It is a secular program, and it is moderately priced. Now, there are a number of materials in the program, but not all of them are needed. You can see the graphic up here just to get an idea of the materials that you need and the price points for all of those materials. Singapore, or primary mathematics, it is known for its concrete pictorial abstract sequence. Don't be afraid of that. All that means is you take a concrete or physical object to start off the lesson with, and then you show a pictorial, a bar model picture, and then you do the equations, whether you're writing symbols, numbers, or formulas. Okay, that's the abstract part, all the little mathy stuff. Okay, another key feature with primary mathematics is the bar modeling approach, and that is simply using linking cubes or Cuisenaire rods to help visualize math in a deeper way. So another key feature is primary mathematics is known for its challenging word problems. Teacher involvement with primary mathematics is high, y'all. It's high just because this is a challenging program to teach. So those are just a couple of the key features. So who is this ideal for? It is ideal for students who do need a challenge in math. Primary mathematics has a lot of challenging word problems, which makes the program pretty rigorous. So it is ideal for those children who can work through those frustrations and those word problems, in addition to the other concepts that are taught. Overall, a fine program. Let's move on to Saxon Math. Saxon Math is an incremental step-by-step approach to teaching math. It kind of loops the topics, meaning you might do multiplication in one lesson, and then you don't touch multiplication until lesson 7 or lesson 12. Okay, so in between, you might do multiplication, fractions, geometry, telling time, and then you hit multiplication. So it loops like that, but it's really good with fundamental math concepts, practice, and review. Also, it is great for parents or teachers who are reluctant to teach math or they don't know how. It is scripted. And so every single thing you want to say to your kid is in that book. So it helps you teach the math to your child. Saxon Math is ideal for children who really benefit from repeated work, repeated practice, and moving in small chunks. If your child has low working memory, this would be ideal for your child because it's not a lot. They don't have to keep focusing on one topic for mastery. They can hold a little bit of information, move on to something else, and hold that, and then come back to the previous thing. So for that, it is great. It is not the most rigorous program on the market, but it does a solid job of teaching the basics to your child. Price point wise, you can see the prices here. It is secular. Overall, it's a solid program. Next, we have Beast Academy. Now, Beast Academy is a conceptual and mastery approach program. It is for grades 1 through 5, and it is secular. The price points, you can see the graphic here for Beast Academy. There are 4 books in the program labeled A, B, C, and D, and each book or textbook has a corresponding workbook, and that's all you need for the program. It is developed by the Art of Problem Solving team, the AOPS. They are the founders of the Math Olympiads. It is the most rigorous math program in the homeschool market. And that is because whatever book you have, whatever grade level, you can expect to be introduced to grade levels at least 2 or 3 times higher than that current book. So, for example, if you have grade level 3, you will be introduced to topics for 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. Absolutely. Key features for Beast Academy is that it comes in a comic book format, which is really fun. The stories are great. The cast of characters are funny. And it's a nice variation of all the characters from the super, super smart to the dumb jock, right? Also, another key feature with Beast Academy, it is known for its problem solving problems, and it really focuses on problem solving. As a matter of fact, they'll tell you, have your child work on one problem a day or for a whole week or for a couple of days, because Beast really wants you to focus, to practice working through frustrations with math, to rise up to the challenge of hard math problems and not shrinking from that. I mean, they are the creators, the publishers, they are the creators of the Math Olympiads. So they are masters of puzzles and mental acuity and solving problems, solving very difficult problems and word problems. So that sprinkles into to their math curriculum. Beast Academy is ideal for gifted students and advanced students, but because of that comic book format and how it does a wonderful job of breaking down very complex issues in understandable ways, if you have a child who just might be interested in reading the comic books, even if your child is not gifted or advanced, because my middle child wasn't, but the storybook format is so well written, and it takes very complex concepts and breaks it down and shows it in everyday real life activities, which I think is easy for a child to make a connection. I would go ahead and introduce it to your child. So don't be afraid of labels that say gifted or talented. You know, it usually just means a lot of critical thinking and more work on your part with teaching that. But I would go ahead and introduce that to your child. Don't be afraid of those labels, okay? Now, Math Mammoth. Now, Math Mammoth is a mastery approach-based program. It is for grades 1 through 7. It is secular. Now, key features for Math Mammoth is that the workbooks are digital now. So if you have more kids in a pipeline, then it's definitely a great bang for your buck. The book is very, it has lots of visual aids and clear explanations. And at the front of each chapter, there is an introduction, which is like a teacher notes section, like your teacher guide. The introduction, which is in every chapter, there is a page or two that has lots of digital links to just further your information or to give you more resources to teach to your children, or resources just to give to your children so they can play and further their learning of these mathematical concepts. I think that is great. That's a treasure trove of information there. It's a great way to build up your digital briefcase of all your math resources. I think that's great. I wish more programs would do that. So who is this ideal for? So students who are self-directed, or they're just learning to be independent on their own. Remember, we're talking about like the 3rd grade level, right? But even going forward, it is great for students who prefer a straightforward approach, because the book does that, just because it's really talking to the student, so the student can really work on, you know, the curriculum without the help of you. So with that in mind, teacher involvement is low. It is the lowest out of all of these programs I'm showing you, okay? Now remember, if you want a comprehensive review, I do have a curriculum review playlist. Go there and get more information on all of these programs, okay? Now we're going to spend the bulk of our time comparing the table of contents for all 4 of these programs, and then I'm going to focus on multiplication, and then I'm going to focus on fractions, so you can see exactly how these programs teach. So I'll just do some flip throughs, okay? All right, so let's get going. All right, guys, let's go. We have our 4 math programs that we are going to compare from the 3rd grade level. We have Math Mammoth, Primary Mathematics, Beast Academy, and Saxon Math. Let's go. Now, I have never compared 4 curriculum at the same time, only 2. So work with the girl because I'm figuring this out as I go along. All right, y'all, I have all 4 of these math programs lined up. We are going to quickly go through the table of contents just to see how each program compares. So let's go. I've got Primary Mathematics here, Math Mammoth, Beast Academy, Saxon Math. All right, so let's look at Chapter 1. Okay, so Primary Mathematics, Chapter 1. We're talking about numbers. We're talking numbers to 10,000. So we're looking at thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones, number patterns, rounding numbers. So basically, place value for the first chapter, okay, the opening chapter. So this is everything for Chapter 1 for Math Mammoth. You're doing a lot of review, mental subtraction and addition. More mental subtraction and addition. They want to make sure you know your addition and subtraction, y'all. I like that. Okay, you have regrouping and addition. I'm just jumping around. More regrouping, rounding. Okay, so a lot of number sense stuff going on here. Okay, a little bit of mileage, order of operations, graphs, and then a review. Okay, so you got a lot going on for Chapter 1 for Math Mammoth. Now let's look at Beast. Okay, now you'll know this is Beast because you'll see pictures throughout the table of contents. Let me zoom out. Now, the thing with Beast Academy, a lot of the titles for the chapters don't really mean anything to you, okay? Until your child starts to know the characters and the storylines, some of the titles will make sense to you. But at the jump, it won't. So just look for keywords. In this case, Chapter 1. In this case, Chapter 1, shapes or geometry. So we have angles, triangles, more triangles, quadrilaterals, Grog's notes means nothing to you right now. And then polyominoes, just know geometry, okay? That was Beast Academy. Saxon Math. Now, Saxon Math is different. It is not broken down by chapters, but by lessons. There are 140 lessons, okay? 140 lessons. Let me zoom out so you can see. So I'm not sure how to divide this up because Saxon Math is very much spiral. It will touch on a topic and then move on to the next topic the next day. And then you wouldn't revisit that previous topic until maybe 5, 6, 7 lessons later. So let's break this down. I'm going to do maybe 5 to 7 lessons because it depends on how many lessons you do in a day, right? If you do 1 lesson a day, then 5 lessons is your week. So let's look at what we have here. Lesson 1, you're talking time. Lesson 2, graphing data on a bar graph. Lesson 3, more graph work, but with addition facts mixed in. Lesson 4, you're telling time, okay, and addition facts. Lesson 5, you're using a ruler to measure to the nearest inch. So now you have measurement, okay? Let's just go to Lesson 7. Lesson 6, identifying and measuring length and width. Okay, so you're doing more measurement, okay? Lesson 7, ordering numbers to 100. Now you're getting into number sense or place value, okay? So you see how just in the first, say, 7 lessons, you have time, graphing, addition, measurement, number sense. You got 5 different concepts in 1 week. So Chapter 2 for Primary Mathematics. Now you're hitting addition and subtraction. You have mental calculation, sum and difference, estimation, word problems. There they go. Adding ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, subtracting those numbers. Your practice B and C, which is kind of like your little spiral. And then the last lesson is 2-step word problems and practice D, which is a little bit of spiral. And then a review for Chapter 2. Now for Math Mammoth, we've moved on to multiplication concepts, okay? Now for Math Mammoth, just notice that for the beginning of each chapter, for Math Mammoth, there is always an introduction to get you up to speed, okay? Many times the same group, multiplication and addition, multiplying on a number line, okay? Order of operations, understanding word problems. So Math Mammoth, they bring in those word problems. And then to finish up Chapter 2, you have multiplication in 2 ways, more order of operations, multiplying by 0, mixed review, and a review chapter for chapter 2, okay? That is chapter 2 for Math Mammoth. Let's see what Beast is doing for chapter 2. Chapter 2 for Beast, skip counting. Looks harmless. You got skip counting, 100 charts, balance, and the 100 game. So if you're kind of unsure what you're really doing on this, just know it's skip counting. But believe me, it's not your grandma's skip counting. All right, let's move on to Saxon Math. Now, again, we don't have chapters. We just have lessons. I think lesson 8, you have addition facts, identifying even and odd numbers, identifying relative worth of pattern blocks, dividing squares into 2 and 4 equal parts. Okay, counting money, more addition facts, and then identifying and acting out some went away stories. Okay, so that's what you're covering for the next, let's just say 7 days. Okay, if you're doing a lesson a day. Let's move on. So let's move on to chapter 3. So primary mathematics, and I'll just always show the cover of the book so you're not confused on what book we're on. Let me zoom in just a smidgen. Okay, so looking back, so that means review, more word problems, practice A and B, which means that's probably going to be some of your spiral stuff. Now we've got multiplying ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, more practice C and D, which is a little of your spiral review. Quotient and remainder, that's your division. Now you're going into your division. And then you're dividing hundreds, tens, and ones, more practice, and then review of chapter 3. That is primary mathematics. Now, for Math Mammoth, they're doing multiplication still. Remember, the previous chapter was concepts for multiplication. Now you're getting into the nitty-gritty. Of course, you always have your introduction in Math Mammoth, and then you have your times tables, okay? Tables of 2, 4, 10, 5. You guys can see all this. And then they throw in some practice review, times table for 3, 6, 11, etc. Okay? Mixed review, which would be like your spiral, and then your chapter review. That is chapter 3 for Math Mammoth. What does Beast Academy do for chapter 3? Honey, they are moving on to perimeter and area. Okay? Simple enough. Perimeter and area. And then they wrap it up with rectilinear shapes, a math meet area, and some titles that don't mean anything to you just yet, okay? And that completes 3A for Beast Academy. Remember, Beast Academy has 4 books, okay? We will move on to 3B. Okay, folks, we are on chapter 4, primary mathematics. Multiplication tables of 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that's all you're doing for chapter 4. Multiplying and dividing by 6. Multiplying and dividing by 7 and 8 and 9. And then for the last lesson, more multiplication and division. Then you have your chapter review. Moving on to Math Mammoth. Chapter 4 is telling time. Okay? Here's your introduction. You're reviewing the clock, half and quarter hours. Review. The till and pass, how many minutes pass, all good concepts. More on elapsed time, practice, clock to the minute. You see, so it's all time, okay? And then you get a little bit of calendar work in there. And then you have your mixed review, which is like your spiral, and then your chapter review, and you were done with chapter 4. And we are done with Math Mammoth. Let's move on to Beast Academy. Chapter 4, multiplication, okay? Again, some of these titles will mean nothing to you. But we got multiplication for chapter 4. This case, we got the times table, the commutative property, multiplying big numbers, associative property, multiplying by 4 and 5, and some other titles that mean nothing to us. But believe me, they are very important. Now let's move over to Saxon Math. Now we stopped at lesson 14. We're doing 7 lessons at a pop. Okay, my bad. We're on lesson 15. I need to learn how to count. Adding 10 to a 2-digit number. Okay. We're doing addition, drawing pictures, writing number sentences. Okay. Dividing squares, some more division. Okay. Lesson 18 is addition. 19, reading thermometers to the nearest 10 degrees, rounding. So some number sense stuff. You got a little bit of geometry in there with drawing congruent line segments. Lesson 20, making pattern blocks. And then lesson 21 is rounding to the nearest 10, subtraction facts. Rounding to the nearest 10 and then subtraction facts. So you have a nice little mix of different topics going on here for Saxon, okay? Now let's go to chapter 5. We're about to wrap up with primary mathematics. I'm trying so hard not to say Singapore math because I'm an old head, y'all. I'm an old head. All right, chapter 5 for primary mathematics. Data analysis. You're presenting data and you're going over probability, and then you have your chapter review, and then you're done with 3A. Okay? Math Mammoth. Chapter 5, money. Good old money. As usual, you have your introduction, and then you're talking about making change, what kind of money you got, mental math with money problems, solving money problems, and then your mixed review chapter, your spiral, followed by your chapter review. That is chapter 5 from Math Mammoth. Beast Academy, chapter 5, perfect squares, okay? Perfect squares, squaring up, dots and boxes, in the garden. Of course, these titles probably will mean nothing to you, but this is perfect squares, which you're still going to be dealing with geometry. Then for Saxon Math, I stopped at 21. Let's go to lesson 22. You are dividing, identifying common geometric shapes. So you got a couple things going on for that day. Turn the page, turn the book. Lesson 23, we're talking money with trading dimes and pennies, some regrouping. That's better. Multiplication for lesson 24, subtracting, writing fractions. So your first introduction to fractions is lesson 26, using fractions with the fraction bar. And then you have 27, which is money, addition facts. And then lesson 28, writing money amounts using symbols. And that is our 7 lessons for Saxon Math. Let's move on. Okay, we are on chapter 6, and this is primary mathematics. Let's go. So primary mathematics, chapter 6 is length. Okay, now we're getting into measurement. We got meters, centimeters, kilometers, practice, yards, feet, inches, and miles. Okay, that's primary mathematics. And just moving to the side, we got Math Mammoth. Let me remind you. Oh, by the way, we moved on to work text 3B. Okay, so that's chapter 6. So got our introduction. Place value, guys. So we got thousands, 4-digit numbers in place value. Which number is greater? Mental addition and subtracting. Okay, you guys can see all of this, rounding, estimating, word problems. That is chapter 6, place value with thousands. Beast Academy, chapter 6 is the distributive property. And so we're talking order of operations, rectangles, and the distributive property. And that concludes book 3B for Beast Academy. Okay, that was chapter 6. Let's move on to Saxon Math. We left off at lesson 28. We're going up to lesson 35. So 28 is money. Okay, we're doing money. No, I'm sorry. We're starting with lesson 29. Can I get myself together? Okay, Saxon Math, we left off at 28, so we are on lesson 29. Reading and shading thermometer, addition, more addition facts, number line. Okay, fractions, okay? More fraction work. Was writing fraction number sentences, ruler work, or measurement, congruent lines, geometry, multiplication. Oh, I said I'm stopping at 35. Okay, so there you have it. Fractions, measurement, geometry, number sense, addition. That's what you have for Saxon Math for those 7 lessons. All right. Chapter 7 is weight. Okay, kilograms, grams, word problems, pounds, and ounces. Okay, that is chapter 7, which is weight. Math Mammoth, chapter 7 is geometry. geometry. Introduction, shapes, quadrilaterals, perimeters, area, multiplication by whole tens, area units, more area and perimeter, problems, solids, spiral review, and then geometry review. Okay, we are on Beast Academy book 3C. Remember, we finished with the distributive property in 3B. Now we are on 3C. And chapter 7, see, remember your little cheat sheets? Chapter 7 is variables, the number n, and variables, and writing equations, and solving equations, and capsules, and other titles that mean nothing to you right now, okay? But that's chapter 7 for Beast. Now, Saxon Math, we'll pick up with lesson 36, which is adding multiples of 10 to a number, okay? Finding half of a set, counting quarters, subtraction facts, tallying, collecting data, identifying AM and PM, so clockwork. Okay, you can see all that. 42, reading a thermometer. Okay, body temperature, Fahrenheit scale. 43 is line segments. 44, you're adding multiples of 10, and then lesson 45, adding three or more single-digit numbers. Chapter 8, capacity. Do I have the capacity to finish this video, y'all? All right, chapter 8. Dropped away. Capacity. So we're dealing with liquids, liters and milliliters and gallons and quarts and oh my, all that stuff. So capacity for chapter 8. So what does Mammoth do for chapter 8? Measuring. Okay. Their introduction, and then we're off to measuring to the nearest fourth inch, centimeters, milliliters, line plots, measuring. Let me zoom in. Okay, you can see all of that. Cups, pints, grams, kilograms, milliliters, common metric units of length, a little bit of spiral review, and then your chapter review. Beast Academy, what do you got for us for chapter 8? Division. Okay, remainders. All more titles that mean nothing to you, but believe me, I think they have these little titles, these, you know, book titles, like fiction book titles, because if they told you what the titles really were, you wouldn't open the book or you would close the book. But chapter 8 is division, okay? Saxon, let's just do it by 10 lessons, maybe 15, just so we can move through this. We stopped at 45. You know what? Let me just let you see the whole page because there are so many lessons and we're almost done with the other books, okay? So we stopped at 45, 46. Just, you know, take a look at that. It's multiplication, dividing, perimeter work, graphing. You got a little bit of measurement with liquids. Telling time is back, okay? You see how it loops all these different math topics? More telling time, reading numbers to 99. Okay, map work, okay? More measurements, subtracting multiples, following a recipe and measuring, okay? Oh, I forgot you had a little bit of fraction work here, and then area, perimeter, fraction work here. Okay, let's turn the page. We're just going to go to the next page because there's so many lessons left. Okay. All right. Take a look at that. I'm just in the interest of making this video shorter, I'm just going to scroll up the page or down the page so you can see all of the lessons. Okay. I'm not going to read them all out. Okay. Let's just get to lesson 100, okay? So from 96 to 100, estimating and measuring, subtracting, you're doing 3-digit subtracting, expanded form, line graphs, okay? That's to a lesson 100. All right, now, primary mathematics, chapter 9, almost done, guys. Money. We're talking dollars and cents, adding, subtracting, multiplication, and division. Money. That's it. And then for chapter 9, for Math Mammoth, division. Okay. Just take a look at that. I'm just going to go through these really quickly, guys. Okay. That's chapter 9 for Math Mammoth. And then for Beast Academy, chapter 9, measurement. Okay. Units, customary units, the metric system. Okay. And then for Saxon, because there are no chapters, just lessons, let's do 10 lessons, okay? Reading. I'm just gonna let you guys look at this because this video is getting to be a little long. Telling time, multiplying by 9. I'm just gonna go down to the end of the page. Okay. Just because you can't compare Saxon with the other books, just because of how the layout is for the information, okay? And then we'll round up, we'll finish Saxon on the next pass. Primary Mathematics, 3B. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is fractions. We are finally getting into fractions. Chapter 10, okay? So this is late in the school year. Fraction of a whole, equivalent fractions, adding, subtracting, more practice, fractions of a set, and fractions with money. Okay, now, let's move on. Math Mammoth, 3B work text. Their chapter 10 is fractions. So they are aligning. Chapter 10, Math Mammoth. Okay. Okay. Mixed fractions, comparing fractions, equivalent fractions, understanding fractions, fractions on a number line, fractions review. That is it. And while we're looking at it, say goodbye, because that concludes Math Mammoth for the year. Okay. Well, at least with the textbooks. Okay. So we are done with that. I'll set it aside. Now for chapter 10, we are moving on to Beast, the final book, which is 3D. Let me grab it. Chapter 10. By golly, fractions. So we got all 3 books covering fractions in the 10th chapter. Okay. Good. I know I'm so lame, but I love South Park. Okay, so 1/8 unit, whole numbers, equal fractions, mixed parts of a whole. You guys can read all this, comparing fractions, but chapter 10 is fractions, okay? And then for Saxon, now, you know, fractions are all dispersed throughout the lessons, the 140 lessons. But, you know, as you're pulling up the rear with your school year, you do see 2 fraction lessons, okay? And so we've got just this whole page. We've got division, geometry, adding, subtracting, common denominators. That's your fraction work. You got reading time, lines of symmetry. Y'all just look at that, okay? And then your last lesson is graphing points on a coordinate plane, page 836, by the way. That concludes Saxon Math, an incremental developmental math program. Now, but we're not done, because chapter 11 for primary mathematics is time, hours and minutes, other units of time. And then chapter 11 for Beast is estimation, okay? Rounding, over and understanding, quotients, guesstimating, and etc. Okay? Let's go to chapter 12 for primary mathematics. All right, chapter 12, geometry, angles, right angles, quadrilaterals, triangles, and solid figures. That is chapter 12 for primary mathematics. For Beast Academy, the final chapter, which is chapter 12, is area, right triangles, more triangle work, square units, measuring area, okay? And then lastly, we made it, y'all. Chapter 13 for primary mathematics is area, perimeter, and volume. And then a review, okay? That concludes primary mathematics. We have concluded with Beast Academy 3D, and we are done with Saxon Math. And then we finished earlier with Math Mammoth. All right. All right, so we've compared the table of contents. Let's compare a couple of chapters, and I want to start with multiplication. Okay, so this is primary mathematics. Of course, my child ripped out the beginning page of multiplication, but it started on page 68 and this is page 69. So you're really just missing just the, the little cover page. But this is multiplication for primary mathematics. This is how it starts, okay? We're just going to do a flip through, but this is what it looks like. I'm just going to flip through it. This is the introduction to multiplication for primary mathematics, okay? That's what it looks like. You start seeing your bar modeling, your bar graphs, okay? And then you have your practice, okay? And then you're going on. Chapter's not over yet, okay? This is primary mathematics, multiplication. Okay, more practice. And then you go into division, okay? And that was chapter 3, okay? Multiplication and division. That's what it looks like, primary mathematics. Let's see what Mammoth looks like. Multiplication, they have 2 chapters. Chapter 2 is the multiplication concept. As always, they have their introduction, which is basically your notes for the teacher, your teacher notes. I think they're very useful. Okay, you can look at that. Take a screenshot. And then this is what it looks like. Okay. This is Mammoth, okay? Now, don't be overwhelmed by this. This is actually good because you can just make a playlist on your child's computer or yours or whatever device they have, and then they can go here and practice their multiplication, okay? So this is when it really starts. This page is really, this is really for you, mom, dad, whomever, okay? Now, this is what it looks like. This is chapter 2, multiplication, Mammoth. Chapter review, okay? Now, chapter 3 is your multiplication tables, okay? Remember, all this stuff is just for you. It's your introduction, just to get you prepped for to teach the lesson, and to also build up your arsenal of activities for your kids. But this is Mammoth, chapter 3, multiplication tables, okay? I'm going to go through this rather quickly. That's Mammoth. What does beast look like for multiplication? Okay. The little tricky titles. Remember, Beast Academy is comic book format. Now I'm going to have to zoom in just so you can read the text, so you can see how they're addressing the issue. Okay, y'all, so let's look at Saxon Math. You know, Saxon Math is different. It loops. It teaches a little bit of multiplication and moves on to other math topics. So everywhere you see a blue tag, it is a lesson. I have 19 of these blue tags. I might have missed one, so let's give it an even 20 multiplication lessons. But this is what we got. Now we have quite a different setup here, because this is the teacher guide with the script that you're going to teach, and this is the student text that they're going to work in. I just want you to kind of see a little bit of both, and then I'll just push this aside and just focus on the student text. So the first multiplication lesson, which is lesson 24, okay? This is the work text that goes with this, okay? Now in the meeting, this is optional. It's basically like binder work, calendar, time, temperature, things like that, number of the day. I'm not even going to focus on that, just on the lesson. So the lesson is here. Now, if you want more in-depth information, you can check out my curriculum review on Saxon Math. All right. So the lesson here, it starts right here, okay? Let me just show you the first one, just so you see how it's set up, okay? So you can see how scripted this is. And I'll zoom in for you a little bit. Okay. I'm such a nut. Okay. So that's what you need to teach the lesson. Now, let's just look at the lessons. All right, so lesson 24. Here we have lesson 24A. Then 24B. So here's your little taste of multiplication. Like right here, okay? Let's go to the next lesson. Okay, here is lesson 31. So here you'll see some materials that you will need for this lesson. You'll need your multiplication fact cards, which are these, but that's for another video, okay? I just want you to see what the pages look like. Now, the reason why I'm showing you each page in the teacher book is because in the student text, it doesn't give you a title, so you don't know exactly what you're working on. You're just working on it, okay? So lesson 36, lesson 36A. So multiplication, you'll see that at the bottom here, okay? 36B continues the lesson, and you see multiplication just kind of scattered throughout, or really just down here. All right, let's move on to the next lesson. I'm not going to do all of these lessons, guys. There are 20 lessons. I'm just going to skip around, just because it's so much to deal with 2 books. Let me go toward the back of the book. Let's do 2 more. Multiplying using the multiplication algorithm, lesson 121. Let's grab part 2. 121. So here's our lesson. And if you need manipulatives for these, I'm not showing that. I just want you to see what the page looks like. So we are on lesson 121 here for this, because remember, the student page doesn't have the name of the topic being taught, because remember, so much is being taught on one page, so they really can't list everything. It would be the whole page. But this is where we get multiplication work, especially down here at the bottom. Now let's flip it. We continue on with 121B, and this is what that looks like for multiplication work, okay? You see your little problems down here, okay? Final lesson. Lesson 111, okay? And for materials, you'll need a fact sheet, your fact sheet. But let's get to lesson 111. Okay, so here is the corresponding student text for lesson 111A. And we are focused on multiplication, so you will keep working on this page until you get to about 3/4 down, and there you have your multiplication problems right there. Okay, let's turn the page. Lesson 111B. Okay, again, you know you're going to have different topics being taught on the same page, but here is your multiplication problems. Okay, hey folks, we're looking at fractions now. This is primary mathematics, Math Mammoth, and of course Beast Academy. Okay, you can tell. All right, so I'm gonna do Saxon last just because I have to keep turning to so many different pages and it's gonna eat up a lot of time. So let's quickly look at how they all teach fractions. All right, let's start with who we've been starting with, primary mathematics. All right, let's rock and roll. Fractions. Now you see with primary mathematics, they just jump right into it. You'll see for Math Mammoth, they, you know, really help the teacher out with the fractions. Okay, I'm missing a couple of pages, but y'all get the gist. A little practice work, which is spiral. Math Mammoth. Now remember, each chapter starts with an introduction that is just really for the teacher so she can get her bearings together and figure out how she's going to teach this unit or this chapter. Okay, lots of links, which I really like. I wish more textbooks, more programs did this. That way you can build up your digital reserves or resources. All right, understanding fractions. Now we're to the student part. Okay, Math Mammoth. And that's the end of the book. Okay, let's look at Beast. For fractions, again, chapter 10 for this one. That is Beast Academy. Now, I did not do the tabs for Saxon Math. Y'all, I did mark it in blue, but I didn't mark the very first one. So let me find it really quickly. So let's talk fractions for Saxon Math. This is the teacher's book. This is lesson 26. These are materials that you will need, but we're just going to be looking at the books, okay? The student text. Okay, so lesson 26, identifying a dozen and a half dozen writing fractions using the fraction bar. Now, I counted about 6 or 7 fraction lessons in this book, in the table of contents. I might be off, but it was 6 or 7 at the most, okay? So let's look at the actual lesson. This is the lesson for you, the teacher. Remember, this is scripted. I'm just going to show that to you really quickly, just so you have an idea of what you have to do. Okay. Now, let's look at the student text. Lesson 26A, right here. Okay. Okay. Y'all, I'm not going to stop saying that. All right, so fractions. Let me be serious. So remember, you're going to do a lot of other topics besides fractions, okay? So you have word problems, you know, days of the week, rounding, currency, and then your first fraction problem. I believe this might be the first problem in the book, okay? Okay. Number 6 is your fraction problem. Let's see if there are any fraction problems on the back for 26B. 26B, fractions, number 6 again, okay? Lesson 33, writing fraction number sentences that equal 1. Here is the corresponding student text. Remember, I'm only showing you the teacher page because the textbook, the workbook, doesn't tell you what you're working on, okay? So we're looking for fractions. And here you have it right here, number 7, okay? Now let's look at 33B. Looking for fractions, okay? Okay, number 7. I think I see a trend here with the numbers. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more fractions because there aren't that many in the book. All right, so lesson 61 is writing a part of a set as a fraction. Here is the corresponding lesson for your child, okay? 61A. And we're looking for the fraction as a set, okay? And it looks like it is number 4. So you're really averaging, oh no, I take that back. Okay, number 2 has something regarding fractions. What fractional part is that, okay? So you have a couple of questions there. And then 61B, kind of the same questions, just about, okay? And then you have a fraction bar here, okay? And then let's do lesson 89, finding a fractional part of a set determining age. So this is the master page for you, the teacher, okay? So this is what it looks like, okay? Here are your fractions for problem number 3, okay? All of that. Okay, 89B. And again, our fraction problems will be problem number 3. That seems to be a thing with keeping everything with the same number, problem number, okay? So that's the lessons for fractions. All right, 2 more fraction problems left. Okay, folks, lesson 128. We're almost toward the end of the book. Adding and subtracting fractions with common denominators. 128A, okay? We have our other topics, and then we hit our fraction problem. You see fractions yet? We have 3 problems here for number 2, okay? That's it. Let's see what's on the back. Same thing. Problem number 2 has your fraction problem. Okay? Okay, folks, are you still with me? Yes, 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 yes. Please say yes. I hope so. We are on lesson 137, ordering unit fractions. Let's turn to the corresponding book. And we have 137A. Okay? Here we have a little fraction work up here. Well, directions, actually. Okay. This is what we have. Fractions right here. And there you have it. And then the final page for fractions. This is lesson 137B. And this is what we have, okay? Fractions are in problem number 2. There we go, okay? You see it all? All right. If you made it this far into the video, bless you. I love you and thank you so much. Plus, you're dedicated, so hats off to you. If you want to get more information on curriculum, check out my curriculum playlist here. I have so many things in there. I have a lot of Beast Academy and Singapore Math. I will have the Saxon Math and Math Mammoth coming up, along with Mequon Math and Math UC. I'll have more things coming up, but it's a kind of a slow process because, but I love you and I thank you so much for supporting me, especially if you're here toward the end of this video. I got to find a way to reward you guys. But I love you. I love you. Mwah! I'll see you on the next share. Bye-bye.